You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. On today's episode of the podcast, we review the ICC World Test Championship Final between India and New Zealand from Southampton. It's the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast, and let's get started. Let's have a look at the match summary from the ICC World Test Championship Final at Southampton between India and New Zealand. India batted first and made 217 in their first innings. Ajinkya Rahane top scored with 49. Kyle Jamieson took 5 wickets for New Zealand. New Zealand, in reply, all out for 249 in their first innings. Devon Conway top scored with 54. And Mohammad Shami took 4 wickets for India. India, in their second innings, all out for 170. Rishabh Pant top scored with 41. Tim Southee took 4 wickets for New Zealand. New Zealand needed 139 runs to win in their second innings. They finished on 2 for 140. Kane Williamson top scored with 52 not out. Ravi Ashwin took 2 wickets for India. New Zealand won by 8 wickets, and Kyle Jamieson was named man of the match. What were the key moments and key factors from the ICC World Test Championship Final between India and New Zealand from Southampton? New Zealand's first innings bowling was key, dismissing India for 217 in conditions that were in favour of the bowlers under overcast skies. New Zealand's first innings batting was key in New Zealand getting a first innings lead of 32 runs. New Zealand's bowling in the second innings was key because they dismissed India for 170, which saw New Zealand chase 139 runs to win. Also, the partnership between Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor of 96, unbeaten for the third wicket, saw New Zealand to victory after they lost 2 early wickets. Those were the key moments and key factors that led to New Zealand winning the ICC WTC Final by 8 wickets. Let's have a look at India's team performance in this WTC Final. Let's start with their batsmen. Rohit Sharma, 34 and 30. Gill, 28 and 8. Pujara, 8 and 15. Kohli, 44 and 13. Rahane, 49 and 15. Pant, 4 and 41. Jadeja, 15 and 16. And Ashwin, 22 and 7. That's how India's batsmen performed in this WTC Final. India's batting in this test match was a bit of a mixed bag, really. The first innings they batted quite well. I thought they applied themselves very well to the conditions. They batted accordingly to the conditions, which were very tough for batting, losing the toss, getting asked to bat first in tough conditions, overhead conditions, ball seaming and swinging around, a quality bowling attack from New Zealand, very tough. But I thought they applied themselves quite well to the conditions. They had some handy partnerships in that first innings, which saw India reach 217 in the first innings. Gill and Rohit Sharma, 62 for the first wicket. Kohli and Rahane, 61 for the fourth wicket, were very crucial in terms of India getting to that 217 score in the first innings. Also, the innings from Rahane of 49 and Kohli 44 were very crucial as well in terms of India getting to that 217 score, which was a below par score in the first innings, but they did well to reach that score where the conditions were very tough for batting, where the ball was swinging and seaming in overhead conditions. So their batting in the first innings was okay. Their batting in the second innings, India, this is where they lost this WTC Final. Their batting in the second innings pretty much cost them this WTC Final and this test match. They batted poorly to start with, but India were in two minds. They started day 6, 2 for 64, leading by 32 runs with Kohli and Pujara at the crease. So India were caught in two minds here because realistically, India couldn't win this test match because their odds of winning the test match was slim. Compared that to New Zealand's odds of winning were very good because New Zealand had a chance of winning this test match, whereas India, their chances were slim and the draw was a more likely result given how much weather and delays we had in this test match. So India were caught in two minds. So 2 for 64, leading by 32 runs. Okay. Were they looking to defend and bat time and take a conservative approach? So not taking any risks, just batting time and reassess when we get to lunch or something, how many runs we're ahead, make that call after lunch and probably push on to, probably set New Zealand the target or just keep batting if we want to bat for a draw. Or being aggressive in scoring runs to force a result in this test match and set New Zealand a target to chase down, as I said before, or bat New Zealand out of the game to feel safe and potentially draw the test knowing that they would have shared the championship. So I think they were confused in their game plan in terms of where they wanted to go in this test match. Were they pushing for a win or were they looking to be conservative and bat time and just draw the test? So Kohli and Pujara resumed on day 6 with India 2 down for 64, leading by 32 runs. Unfortunately for India, they got out early. So once Kohli and Pujara got out, it was tough for India's batsmen to start against this quality New Zealand bowling attack. They lost wickets at regular intervals throughout their second innings, 1 for 24, 2 for 51, 3 for 71, 4 for 72, 5 for 109, 6 for 142, 7 for 156, 8 for 156, 9 for 170, and 170 all out. So they lost wickets at regular intervals in this second innings, India. The key batsman for them was Rishabh Pant. He was the key for India. Now, we all know what Rishabh Pant can do. We saw what he did at the Gabba during the Australia-India series earlier this year. We saw what he did in Sydney as well. He's a very fast scorer. So we all know what he can do with the bat. Once he gets in, he can score quickly. So for New Zealand, he was the danger man. And Rishabh Pant got dropped early in his innings. Excuse me. Off Tim Southey, actually. He dropped him at slip early on in his innings. So that was a big let-off from Rishabh Pant. So that pretty much gave him a second life. So Pant was being aggressive. He scored 41 in the end. He was looking to be aggressive, looking to take the attack to the New Zealand bowlers, put them under pressure, and make sure that he put India in a good position to have the opportunity for India to bat New Zealand out of the game, get a lead of around about 150 plus, maybe 200 plus. Therefore, that bats New Zealand out of the game. Then the draw is an only option for a result, because if that happened, India's chances of winning was slim. Same with New Zealand, because India would have got a lead of 150 plus or 200 plus. So he was being aggressive, looking to score runs quickly and put the New Zealand bowlers under pressure. Unfortunately for India, Pant got out. He played a big shot straight up in the air. Trent Boult got him out for 41. Brilliant catch from Henry Nicholls, and that was the turning point in this match. This is where the match turned towards the favour of New Zealand. And this is where India started to lose the match, and really, this is where New Zealand seized on this opportunity, getting the wicket of Pant. Once they got him out, India's tail-enders pretty much didn't last long. India were bowled out for 170, and in the end, they set New Zealand 139 runs to win, which is not going to be enough to win a test match, and New Zealand did it easily in the end. So I think for India, that's where they lost this test match. Their second innings batting and the wicket of Rishabh Pant were the two turning points in this WTC final in terms of India's chances of batting New Zealand out of the game, making sure they draw the test match and share the title, whereas that didn't happen and New Zealand went on to win the WTC final and deserved to win because they played superbly in this whole WTC cycle and this final. So at the end of the day, India's batting was poor. I thought in the first innings they batted well, they adjusted well to difficult conditions that are not too familiar for Indian batsmen, especially in England with the ball seaming around overhead conditions. I thought they handled that pretty well in the first innings, but it's where the second innings is where they lost this test match, and it was quite poor from the Indian batsmen and the tail-enders as well. So overall, their batting was a bit of a mixed bag in this test match. Very disappointed. They will be disappointed, I should say, with their batting performance, especially in the second innings, and really their lack of clarity really cost them because they didn't really know what to do. Are we going to bat for a draw? Are we going to be aggressive, score runs? look to win, look to set New Zealand a target to win, or we're just going to just bat for time. So they weren't really clear in their thinking. That's where India got undone. And New Zealand were able to capitalise on that, put them under pressure, take wickets, and chase down 139 runs to win the Test match. Let's have a look at India's bowlers and their performance in this WTC final. Jadeja took 1 wicket, 4 wickets for Ashwin, 3 wickets for Ishant Sharma, no wickets for Bumrah, and 4 wickets to Shami. That's how the Indian bowlers performed in this WTC final. I thought India's bowling in this Test match was a bit of a mixed bag at times. They were good and then they were bad. Their lines and lengths were consistent at times, but not all the time. So it's a bit of a mismatch with their bowling in this WTC final, India. I thought they did well to keep New Zealand to 249, I should say, in their first innings. They slightly got their lines and lengths wrong in that New Zealand first innings. Didn't quite execute their lines and lengths, but then they started to correct their lines and lengths. And once they got it on the right line and length in the New Zealand first innings, India, they were able to take wickets at regular intervals and caused a bit of a batting collapse from the New Zealand batsmen, which got New Zealand on edge. And they were able to bowl them out for 249. But the one concerning thing from India in the first innings was the tail-enders' runs from New Zealand. Now, New Zealand's tail-enders are much better than India's tail-enders. Let's be honest. They hold the bat a bit better than India's tail-enders. And this was the big difference in the match. India and their tail-enders compared to New Zealand's tail-enders, it was a big difference in this match because New Zealand's tail-enders get a lot more runs compared to India's tail-enders, they get a lot less. So the runs to the New Zealand tail-enders in New Zealand's first innings, India leaked runs to the tail-enders. They weren't able to pick up wickets at regular intervals to really close the innings off for New Zealand in the first innings. So the partnerships New Zealand had with the tail-enders in the first innings, Williamson and Jamieson, 30 for the 7th wicket, Southey Williamson, 29 for the 8th wicket, Southey Wagner, 13 for the 9th wicket, Southey and Bolt, 15 for the 10th wicket, all contributed to New Zealand getting 249 after that batting collapse to get a first innings lead of 32 runs, which was very crucial for New Zealand in terms of them winning this Test match. It was an indication of the Indian bowlers showing signs of fatigue, and that really indicated the lack of preparation they had heading into this Test match. Now, India played some intra-squad games among themselves as a team. That's not the best way to prepare for a Test match. You really need to play against a county side or play a competitive Test match. Now, the last Test match India played was in March. That was against England and India. They haven't played a Test match since then until now. Pretty much they played IPL after that Test series up until it got postponed, and obviously they had to prepare for this WTC final. So not much first-class cricket or Test cricket for the bowlers. So really, what we saw from that bowling performance in the first innings and when the tail-enders got on top of the Indian bowlers is a sign of India's bowlers not having the match practice, not having the overs in the legs to back up spell after spell, over after over, which you need to do in Test cricket. It's a sign of a lack of preparation in terms of match practice and also the overs in the legs for the bowlers. And obviously their lines and lengths were a bit inconsistent because they got tired and they started to bowl a bit poorly with the ball. India's second innings, it was a tough ask for the Indian bowlers to defend 139. Ravi Ashwin took 2 wickets early, got the ball rolling, which gave India some hope, but realistically, India weren't going to win this match. Let's be honest, they weren't going to win the match. It was either going to be New Zealand to win or a drawn Test match. Unfortunately, it was New Zealand who won. India's bowlers were up against it, obviously trying to back up another bowling performance after being in the field the previous day. And obviously, they weren't able to back it up. Unfortunately, New Zealand were able to chase down the runs. India created some chances during this second innings. They got Williamson out LBW. Ashwin got him out LBW. It was given out on the field by the umpire. Williamson reviewed it, and it was missing the stumps. So that was good for New Zealand fans, not so good for Indian fans. Also, Jasprit Bumrah had Ross Taylor dropped at first slip by Cheswa Pujara, which didn't really help Bumrah in this test match because he didn't even get a wicket in this test match, Bumrah. He was quite poor in this test match, Bumrah, below his normal standards that he sets himself, I should say. If those chances were taken, I should say, and went India's way, it could have been a lot tighter and we may have seen a batting collapse from New Zealand. But it was the Williamson and Taylor partnership that sucked all the energy out of this Indian team. The body language from India was down, the shoulders slumped back, the chat on the field was quiet compared to when Ashwin got those 2 wickets. It was up and loud, but really the Williamson and Taylor partnership sucked all that energy out, and pretty much, again, as we saw in the first innings, the Indian bowlers showing signs of fatigue, which showed the lack of preparation in terms of the overs in the legs and also match practice as well. And it's an indication that they really haven't played much first-class cricket in terms of backing up spell after spell, over after over. It pretty much showed in the second innings as well as the first innings. And also, their lines and lengths were inconsistent again. Therefore, New Zealand were able to capitalise on that with Williamson and Taylor in their partnership of 96 unbeaten. They were able to get the runs and guide New Zealand home to victory. So overall, India's bowling was a bit of a mixed bag in this WTC final. Now, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and India could have done with Mohammad Siraj in this bowling attack, I reckon. Instead of playing Ashwin and Jadeja as the 2 spinners, they could have gone in with Mohammad Siraj. The pitch here in Southampton didn't turn as much. The pitch was getting no sunlight whatsoever. It wasn't getting baked by the sun, obviously drying the surface out because of all the cloud cover and the rain. Ashwin and Jadeja didn't bowl as much in this match. They took wickets. Ashwin took 4 wickets in the match. Jadeja only took 1 wicket. So their impact in the match was very little. Siraj would have been a better option for India on this surface, I reckon. But Virat Kohli said, no, we wanted to stick with the team that we selected. Obviously, we have full backing of the guys who we've selected to get the job done. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done for India in this WTC final. So I think going forward for India, they may need to relook at their bowling attack when they take on England for the Test series in a few months' time. Overall, India will be disappointed about this result. They gave it their all in this Test match and tried their best. Unfortunately, it wasn't their day, and New Zealand outplayed them and deserved to win the WTC final. Let's have a look at New Zealand's team performance in this WTC final. Let's start with their batsmen. Latham, 30-9. Conway, 54-19. Williamson, 49-52 not out. Taylor, 11-47 not out. Nichols, 7. Watling, 1. And de Granholm, 13. That's how the New Zealand batsmen went about things in this WTC final. New Zealand's batting was very good. I thought they batted superbly, New Zealand. They showed a lot of fight, determination, grit. They showed that mental toughness. They found ways to get through the tough periods when the ball was swinging and seaming under very difficult conditions in this Test match. They took their time. They batted accordingly to the conditions. They found a way, as I said before, to get through the tough periods. And they were able to get a first innings lead in this Test match of 32 runs, which was very crucial in them winning this Test match. So at stumps on day 3, there were 2 for 101. They had a good partnership between Latham and Conway of 70 for the first wicket, but it sort of went a little bit wrong for New Zealand. When they came back for day 5, after day 4 was washed out due to rain, there was sort of a bit of a batting collapse from New Zealand. They lost wickets quickly, but Kane Williamson held the innings together, scoring a good hard 49, leading from the front in difficult conditions. Also, the partnerships from the lower order and the tail enders were crucial as well. Williamson and Jamieson 30 for the 7th wicket. Southey Williamson 29 for the 8th wicket. Southey Wagner 13 for the 9th wicket. Southey and Bolt 15 for the 10th wicket. All helped New Zealand get to that score of 249 in the first innings after that batting collapse and get the first innings lead of 32 runs. So all of those contributions and partnerships and the key innings from Williamson of 49 and Devon Conway's innings of 54 really helped New Zealand get to that score of 249 and get the lead of 32 runs in the first innings, which proved to be crucial in terms of New Zealand winning this test match. Now, New Zealand in the second innings, they needed 139 runs to win after a great bowling performance from the bowlers. The batsmen needed to back it up and score 139 runs to win the WTC Final. They lost a couple of wickets early, New Zealand, so there was some panic in the batting lineup. When Latham and Conway got out to Ashwin, there was some panic there. They also had a scare when Williamson was given out LBW, but he reviewed it and it was overturned. Also, Taylor had a scary moment when he edged a ball off Bumrah, but he was dropped by Pujara at first slip. But the experienced pair of Williamson and Taylor steadied the ship and guided New Zealand to victory and helped them win the WTC Final. And it was a magnificent achievement from this New Zealand team. The partnership of 96 unbeaten for the third wicket between Williamson and Taylor was very important in the second innings to guide New Zealand to victory, because when you're chasing a low target like 139, it's very important to have one good partnership and have one good innings from one batsman or two good innings from two good batsmen to get the runs. And that's what New Zealand did with Williamson and Taylor, the partnership of 96 for the third wicket, and also their innings, 52 not out to Williamson and 47 not out to Taylor, contributed to New Zealand getting these runs easily in the end and winning this test match. Now, India didn't make it easy for New Zealand. It was tough going for New Zealand at the start of their innings, but once they got in and got set, it became much easier and the runs started to flow. And that's what a partnership does. When there's an established partnership, you can just get the runs. And that's what Williamson and Taylor did in this second innings for New Zealand. So overall, New Zealand's batting was superb as always. They showed a lot of fight, mental toughness, resilience, a lot of character. They found ways to get through the tough periods, and they were able to get through the tough periods where the ball was seaming and swinging under overhead conditions early on in this test match. They were able to put the team into a good position, the batsmen, and obviously they went on to win this test match. So overall, the batting was fantastic, brilliant effort from everyone. Let's have a look at their bowlers and see how they performed in this WTC final. 7 wickets for Jamieson, 5 wickets for Southey, 3 wickets for Wagner, 5 wickets for Bolt, and no wickets for de Granholm. That's how the bowlers performed for New Zealand in this WTC final. Once again, New Zealand, they bowled superbly in this test match. Their lines and lengths were relentless. They executed their plans well with the ball. I thought in the first innings they were a bit off with their lines and lengths. They were a bit inconsistent, but they started to get their lines and lengths right towards the back end of the Indian innings. They were able to bowl India out for 217, which was a fantastic effort. They adjusted well to the conditions in the first innings with the ball seaming and swinging, overhead conditions. They were able to adjust to those conditions and bowl accordingly to those conditions. But their second innings bowling pretty much helped them seal this game, New Zealand. Because heading into day 6 of this test match, India were 2 down for 64 at the start of day 6, leading by 32 runs with Kohli and Pujara at the crease. Now for New Zealand, they needed to get early wickets to put India under pressure, bowl them out cheaply and chase a low target in the last innings. If they didn't take wickets early, India would have batted New Zealand out of the game and setting them a target of 150 plus, 200 plus, which meant that New Zealand couldn't win the game if that happened, and the only possible result would have been a draw in this test match. But New Zealand bowled well. Their lines and lengths were relentless as always, which put India's batsmen under pressure in this second innings. New Zealand picked up the wickets at regular intervals. Getting Kohli and Pujara early on day 6 set the tone for New Zealand, and they were able to get on a bit of a roll and get wickets. But the danger man for New Zealand was Rishabh Pant, and this is where the game changed for New Zealand. Rishabh Pant, as we all know, he's a very good batsman. We know what he can do. We saw what he did at the Gabba against Australia early this year, I should say. If he gets in and scores 50 plus, India would have reached that 150 plus or 200 plus target to set New Zealand in the last innings. Now, Tim Southey dropped Rishabh Pant early in his innings. So that could have been costly for New Zealand, and it could have been a different result. But Trent Boult got Richard Pant out, and he hit a ball straight up in the air, Richard Pant, and Henry Nicholls took a superb catch. And that was the key wicket for New Zealand. Once Richard Pant went, India's chances of batting New Zealand out of the game were gone. So essentially, New Zealand were favourites to win the game, but also the draw was still a favourite as well. So New Zealand bowled India out for 170 and needed 139 runs to win, and the batsmen got the job done and chased down the runs. So all the bowlers did their job. They contributed nicely to this bowling effort. All of them are very talented. It's a quality bowling attack from New Zealand, and it showed in the second innings where they dismissed India for 170, and it was a very dominant display of fast bowling from all of them, really. It just shows how good this bowling attack from New Zealand is. High quality, and that's why they are world champions. So overall, New Zealand's bowling was good and contributed nicely to this brilliant win for New Zealand. Overall, New Zealand will be happy about this result. Winning the World Test Championship is a big achievement from this New Zealand team. They have put in a lot of hard work over the last 2 years, and it's great to see them being rewarded for that hard work. What a test match. Despite the weather and the delays we had in this test match, we were able to get a result and witness one of the best test matches ever. Congratulations to New Zealand, they deserve this win. After the disappointment of losing the World Cup final in 2019 to now being world champions, it's a wonderful achievement from this great New Zealand team. India will be disappointed with this result, but they shouldn't be, because they have played some wonderful cricket and achieved so much as a team over the last 2 years. Overall, it was a fantastic test match, going down to the wire and showing us why test cricket is the best format in the world. New Zealand may have won, but the true winner is the game of cricket itself. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast, and like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.